Hi guys, so the question we have in front of us here today guys is an oblique plane and a lamina question. Okay, so we can see here guys we have the lamina given to us in our elevation view here, and we've it also given to us in our plan view here, and we're also given the horizontal trace, okay, of an oblique plane. What we have to do in this question guys is basically find the vertical trace. Okay, so kind of similar enough to what we've done in previous questions where we have done point location. We're going to use that method basically to work backwards to find a point on the vertical trace. Okay, so I'm just first of all going to start off by labeling my lamina. Okay, if I call this 1, I'm going to call this 2, and I'll call this one 3, so that'll be 3, 2 will be down here, and then 1 is over here. Okay, at this point basically what we're going to do is we could do a couple of methods, okay, but the method we're going to use is the ones we've previously learnt. Okay, there's about 1 or 2 methods you could do to do it, but we're going to use the one that we've previously learnt, where we're going to use a horizontal cutting plane and go parallel to our horizontal trace from one of the points 1, 2 or 3. Okay, in this case I'm going to do it from I'll do it from number 3, and I'm going to do it from number 1, and we'll just test my accuracy there. Okay, so what we're going to do is go parallel to the horizontal trace. Okay, and I'm going to do it from number 3, point on the lamina. Okay, parallel to where that hits the XY line. Okay, where it hits the XY line, I'm going to project that up. And where projected up to, and project 3 horizontally across. Okay, because that's the image. Okay, that part of the line, okay, there is the image of this line here in our plan view. Okay, in our plan view technically that is our true length, and at this point here that should be a point on our vertical trace. Okay, another one that we could do, okay, just to test it. Okay, now I could draw in my vertical trace. I often like to do the one that's actually the furthest away though, because I think it gives me a more definite point. Okay, so the one that's furthest away from our horizontal trace here in plan is actually point number 1. So the same thing, I'm going to do a horizontal cut, which we see it as a line, okay, in our plan view, and from number 1 I'm going to go parallel to my horizontal trace to where it hits the XY line. Where it hits the XY line, project it up, and where 1 is in our elevation view, project it across. And now I've found another point on my vertical trace. Okay, at this point I didn't have to find 2, but at this point I should be able to connect this one back to my trace here, and we can see then, yeah, I'm actually happy with that. We can see that both of them go through the points. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that. That is the vertical trace, okay, and how we would find it. Okay, you can do it by point location, but lamina would give a more definite one, because obviously we can check our accuracy just to be sure that we're correct. Okay, if I wanted to do the same with 2, I could project up parallel to my horizontal trace where it hits the XY line, project up, and it should meet on the line. Okay, hope you found that useful guys. Now what we're going to do is we are going to skip over here to question number 2 on this page. Okay, so on question 2 guys, what we're actually given here is the elevation view and the plan view of lamina. Okay, so it says the given lamina is resting on the oblique plane. Locate the trace of the plane, and the pictorial shows the lamina. Locate the trace on the pictorial as well. Okay, so we'll try and use this to help us out a little bit as well. So here guys we have the elevation. I've labelled it 1, 2, 3 of a lamina, and in my plan view I've also labelled it 1, 2 and 3. Now what you have to understand is we're not given the traces here. We're not given the vertical trace. We know it's up here somewhere, and we're not given the horizontal trace, which is down here. What we have to do is we have to find them. Okay, and to be able to do that guys, we are not going to be able to use the point location method that we have previously done, because we use the trace always when we're doing that. So now what we have to actually understand is we're going to use the lamina to help us out. First of all, we have to understand the lamina is sitting on the oblique plane. It is on the oblique plane. Okay, so technically we kind of, now based on that, if you looked in along 2, 3, you'd be able to get an edge view, okay, of the lamina, and that edge view, okay, well, you'd have to get a true length first, so forth, and then look along the true length to get the edge view. And once you had the edge view, you technically have the inclination of the lamina, and which would give you the inclination of the oblique plane. What we're doing here though, guys, is basically just trying to find the traces though, okay? But what I'm trying to basically explain there is that this lamina is sitting on the oblique plane, okay? So what we're actually going to notice is the lamina, if I was to extend down the edges, okay, where the edges meet the horizontal plane, or if I was to extend the edges onwards, okay, where they meet the vertical plane, okay, that will give me a point that is actually on the traces. So we're going to use that to help us, okay? So if I was to extend down the trace 1, 3 there, okay, where that, just to show you there, if I was to extend down the trace 1, 3, okay, not the trace, sorry, I should say the edge 1, 3 of my lamina, if I was to extend that down, okay, that point there technically is a point on the horizontal trace, okay, of the oblique plane, okay. What I would do then is, where it hits there, I know it's going to be down here somewhere, okay, and like I did up here, okay, where I extended my edge 1, 3, I'm going to do the same in my plan view, okay. And what I'm going to do is to extend out the edge 1, 3, and what I have now found there is a point on my horizontal trace, right there, okay. So if I was to explain that in my little kind of sketch down here that they've given us, alright, what I've done here in my elevation view, okay, now remember I've labelled this object here, which is the lamina, okay, in a pictorial view. The points here, here and here are the points as it sits on the vertical plane when it's projected back onto it. So point 1 is here, point 3 is here, and then obviously 2 is here. That's how we see it, okay, on our vertical plane. So what I've done there essentially is I've extended down the edge 1, 3, okay, like that, came down there until it hits the XY line. Okay, just put that in a little bit heavier, so there's a little bit of understanding in this now, and it hits the XY line right here, okay. And what I have to do then is project back, and I'm going to go parallel now with this edge here, so we get it as accurate as possible, and somewhere back along there is going to be a point on my horizontal trace. Now, once again, if 1 was here, I need to find it in my plan view, and I think it is, this one is 1 in my plan, this one here was number 2, and this one in here was number 3. Okay, so what I'm going to do here now, I'll actually just zoom in that so you can see it a little bit better, apologies. So, as I said previously, I've extended down 1, 3, like we did up here in our elevation, to hit the XY line, and projected it down, and then 1, 3 here, we're going to project this edge out. And when I projected that edge out, that's after giving me a point on my horizontal trace. The problem is we don't know, we need actually 2 points to be able to get the direction of it, okay? So that's the very first one that we did, okay? Little bit tricky, just to show you here, and I'm going to put this one actually in green. If I was to extend this down 1, 3 now, if I'm accurate, based on my sketch, if I was to extend down 1, 3 from the pictorial view of it, that should meet the point here. And that then, yep, that's meeting up, I'm happy with that. That is meeting up there, and we can see that is actually a point on the horizontal trace, okay? So as we see it obviously on our drawing, that's what we see, that's the projection of 3 in elevation, projection of 3 in plan is down there, okay? So that gives us a point on the horizontal trace. Now we're going to use that method again to find another point, okay? And I'll just zoom out there so you can see it, guys, yeah? So we're going to use that method again. We've found one point on the horizontal trace, we're going to use that method again to find another. Now, we've obviously got 3 lines here, with the line 1, 3, with the line 1, 2, and with the line 2, 3. Okay, using the correct lines here is very important, guys. They will all work technically, depending on how you go about this question. Technically we could get 2 points up here in our vertical trace and then work our way backwards and get the horizontal trace, but I'm starting with the horizontal. But I've used the line 1, 3 to find 1. Okay, so that one has been used up. Now we've got the line 1, 2, and we've got the line 3, 2, or 2, 3, or however you want to call it. As we can see here, guys, the line 3, 2, if I was to extend it out, that's going to go way out here, so it's kind of going off my drawing. So that's not really going to help us, okay? So obviously we can work out by the process of elimination that I'm going to have to use the line 1, 2. So like we did with the previous one, we extended it down to the XY line because we want to find where it hits on the XY line, which technically is a point on the horizontal trace. So extend down the line 1, 2, like that there. Goes a little bit off the line there, guys, sorry. Extend that down, okay? Where that is on the XY line is technically where it is in the horizontal trace. So once I project that down, somewhere down there, okay, somewhere down along that line is a point on my horizontal trace. And like we did here, where we just extended the edge, 1, 2, I will do that also in plan. And I've extended that in plan, and now where they cross each other, that there is a point on my horizontal trace. I have now got 2 points on the horizontal trace. I can connect them up. Okay? So at this point now we have found our HT. So T there, H down here. Okay? And once again, just to explain that in the little kind of pictorial view down here. So I'll zoom in there so you can see it a bit better. So, like we did in our elevation, we used the line 1, 2. Okay, that actually looks a little bit funny. Don't like the explanation of that. 1, 2, 2. No, it'll probably work. Sorry, it's just the way I'm looking at it. So 1, 2, we extended it down. Okay, just to show you here, like that. We extended it down to hit the XY line. Okay, once I extended it down, what we actually did was we projected it down to our plan view. Yeah, it's working out fine. Okay, and somewhere down along here is where it's going to be in our plan view, and like we did in our elevation where we just extended down the edge, we're going to do the same in our plan. So 1, 2, you can see this edge here. I'm going to literally project that out. Okay, and that gives me once again another point on my trace. So now, having got 2 points on the trace, I can draw in the trace. Okay, and there is the horizontal trace, HT, because that is a horizontal plane. Okay, so basically guys, that's kind of how you would use the edges of the lamina to help you locate a trace on the oblique plane. If I was to, the one we got there was the 1, 3, went down along that edge. Yeah, technically there, so the 1, 2 is the one we used here. So that one there, if I extend that down, you can see it's going to meet up with it. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that. Okay, we can see it there, green edge or green line I've just put in. So we can see that there. If I was to extend that down, the continuation of the lamina, when that line continues down, that will cut through the horizontal plane at a point on the horizontal trace. Okay, so there's a little bit in the understanding of that, guys. Now, having done that, guys, we can actually go back to our previous method. Okay, we can go back to our previous method of locating a point on the vertical trace. Okay, so this is where we can go back and revert to our previous method. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to project up, I'm going to use number 1, okay, as my point. So I'm going to go parallel to the horizontal trace from number 1. And having done that, I'll project up point 1, my elevation, and where that is in my elevation, I will then project it across, and at that point there, I have now found a point on my vertical trace. Because we have the horizontal trace, I can connect that down. Okay, a little bit in that question there now, guys. Okay, it's using a lamina to help us out. Okay, vertical trace there. We could also, guys, do an extenuation of the points as well. Okay, like we have previously done down here where we extended the lines in our elevation down. Okay, 1 and 3 we extended down in 1 and 2, and then we extended them out in both views. We could do that in our plan view. So we will do that just to prove that we can get a point on our vertical trace as well. Okay, so first of all, just using the lines. Okay, we've obviously got 3 lines once again. We've got the line 1, 2, 2, 3, and then 3 back to 1. If I was to use them, look, if I was to do the line 1, 3 and I was to extend it out, we can see that it's going way over here, so it's just going to get a little bit awkward. The line 2, 1, if I was to extend that up, and then you'd see, because I have to extend the line here in elevation, 2, 1 will come up to here, all the way up here. It's going to be out of my page because 2, 1 will go up, so that's not really going to work. So the one that's actually probably going to best suit, guys, they'll all work, but you have to just consider the ones that are going to best suit. Okay, so the one that I think that will best suit is the line 2, 3. Okay, and I'm going to put that in green now. Okay, so If I was to extend that up, I said green, I went with black. If I was to extend that up there in green, alright, and then where it hits the XY line, this is trying to find a point on the vertical trace now. So in this case, the XY line is our vertical trace. I will project that up. It should meet here, if we're accurate. It should meet right here. Okay, so 2, 3, when I extend that out, should meet right there. And I'm happy with that. As we can see, it's meeting at it. Okay, so at that point there, that once again is another point on our vertical trace if you wanted to find the second one. Okay, that is just working the other way around there, guys. Okay, so a little bit in that there, guys. I'll just quickly put that in on the sketch and what we have done there. Okay, what we did there, guys, was we did the we went parallel from, which one was it again? It was from number 1. Okay, to find a point on the vertical trace. Okay, so in parallel from point number 1 to the horizontal trace, like that. Where it hits the XY line, we went parallel or perpendicular up. And then went horizontally across to the XY line from number 1. That was reverting back to the old method to locate a point on the vertical trace. So there's our vertical trace now in our elevation. Vertical trace right there. Okay, having found the vertical trace, I could put in the oblique plane like that. Okay, and you could obviously use a little bit of colour to shade it in and so forth. The other method that we just went over there, guys, as well, was going back using the edges of the lamina, and the edge we actually used was the edge 2, 3. So if I was to extend that on, hopefully this will all work out now if I've been accurate. So I extended on 2, 3. 2, 3, then projected up. Hopefully it's looking okay. Yeah, projected up here to a point on the vertical trace, and that point there was another point on the vertical trace, and really when I extended out 2, 3 in my elevation view, that should meet up, and we can see it does as well. Okay, so I'm quite happy with those. That kind of sketch worked out there. A little bit in that, guys, so that will kind of be getting more to the higher level aspect of this topic here, where we're using the edges of the lamina to locate the points on the traces. Okay, what you really need to understand is the lamina is on the oblique plane. Therefore, if you project down any edge, okay, be it on the vertical plane or projected up to the vertical plane or the horizontal plane, where that intersects, that's going to be a point on one of those traces. Okay, hope you found that helpful, guys. That is the question completed there.